Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive with us.
Always exciting.
Yeah. Today, we're going to be looking at something that I think we all are thinking about pretty much all the time,
Oh, yeah.
which is personal change,
All
right?
right.
How do we actually make those positive shifts we always, want to see in ourselves? We're going to be exploring some surprisingly simple but really powerful strategies based on the Learn English Comfortably podcast episode.
Oh, cool.
And they basically say you don't need to upend your whole life
Yeah.
to see real progress.
That's refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The idea that small strategic tweaks
Yeah.
can lead to big changes over time.
Yeah.
I find that really empowering.
I do too.
And it all starts with something that we might overlook
Yeah.
in our quest for the quick fixes,
Yeah.
which is awareness.
I'm definitely somebody who makes a lot of to-do lists and plans, but this awareness thing,
Yeah.
it almost feels too basic.
Right.
But the podcast really emphasizes it as the crucial first step. So
Okay.
what's the big deal about just
Yeah.
being aware of our patterns and habits?
Well, think of it like navigating a new city.
Okay.
If you don't know where you're starting,
Right.
that map is useless.
Yeah.
So awareness is about taking stock of your current situation.
Right.
Those habits that might be holding you back.
Yeah.
But the key is without judgment.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's just understanding your starting point
Right.
before you plot a new course.
So it's less about
Yeah,
beating ourselves up for bad habits and more about just
exactly.
okay, these are the patterns that I can then work with to shift.
Exactly. Yeah. Once you have that clarity,
Okay.
you can start making those micro changes
Okay.
that the podcast really emphasizes.
Yeah, they use the example of setting your alarm just 10 minutes earlier,
Right.
which honestly to me sounds too simple.
I know. It's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's barely enough time to hit snooze.
Yeah.
Hit snooze. Yeah.
I'm really curious how such a tiny tweak can create meaningful change because it seems kind of counterintuitive to everything we're told about
Right.
you need massive action
Yeah.
for massive results.
That's where the psychology gets really fascinating.
Okay.
Micro changes work because they're about building momentum and confidence.
Okay.
So imagine you successfully get up 10 minutes earlier
Yeah.
every day for a week.
Okay.
That small win
Right.
starts to snowball.
Yeah.
You feel more capable,
Okay.
more in control.
Right.
And then that makes it easier to tackle bigger shifts
Yeah.
later on.
It's almost like that feeling when you finally clean out one drawer
Yeah.
in your really messy room.
That's a great analogy.
It doesn't fix everything, but it gives you the energy to kind of keep going.
Totally. And there's another interesting point they bring up,
Okay.
which is the relationship between motivation and action.
Okay.
We often wait
Yeah.
for motivation to strike before starting something new.
Right.
But they suggest flipping the script.
Wait, so they're saying action comes before motivation.
Yes.
That's definitely not how I usually approach things. I'm much more of
I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
But think about it. Have you ever started a task
Yeah.
feeling totally unmotivated,
Uh-huh.
but once you got going, the energy started to flow?
Yeah.
It's like taking that first step creates its own momentum.
Okay. I'm starting to see how that could work. So instead of waiting for that
Yes.
magical burst of motivation,
Yeah,
you just choose to act even if it's a tiny step.
exactly.
And that can build on itself.
Exactly.
I can see that. But what about those moments when we hit a roadblock?
Totally.
Those times when we slip back into old patterns.
Right.
How does the podcast address those setbacks?
They offer a really interesting reframing.
Okay.
Instead of viewing these moments as failures,
Right.
they suggest seeing them as feedback.
That's a really different way of looking at things. I tend to get so discouraged when I don't stick to my plan perfectly.
Yeah.
I feel like I just failed and I just want to give up.
I think that's such a common experience.
Yeah.
But this feedback framework could be such a game changer.
Okay.
Imagine you're learning a new skill, like playing an instrument.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect to be a virtuoso overnight, right?
Right.
You'd practice.
Yeah.
You'd make mistakes.
Right.
And you would use those mistakes
Yeah.
to adjust your approach.
Right.
And it's the same with personal growth.
So it's almost like shifting from that self-critical voice to a more curious, kind of almost scientific mindset.
Yes.
Instead of, I messed up, it's okay,
Right.
what can I learn from this and how can I tweak things next time?
Exactly. It takes the pressure off needing to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it allows you to really embrace the learning process.
Right.
And that just makes the journey much more sustainable
Yeah. Makes sense.
in the long run. Now, the Learn English Comfortably podcast hosts also introduce another really fascinating idea
Okay.
that can totally shift your perspective.
Okay.
And that's changing I have
Right.
to I get to.
You know, I was a little skeptical of that at first. It
Yeah.
seemed kind of like a cheesy motivational trick.
Right.
But the more I think about it,
Yeah,
the more I can see how powerful that could be.
totally.
Could you give an example of how this works, like in practice?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's say you're dreading your morning workout.
Okay.
Instead of thinking, oh, I have to go to the gym,
Yeah.
try shifting it to, I get to move my body and get stronger today.
Okay.
It might seem like a small change,
Right.
but it can really reframe the whole experience.
It's like you're choosing to focus on the opportunity
Yes.
instead of the obligation.
Exactly.
And that can make a huge difference in how you approach it.
Precisely. And
Right.
it's about cultivating that sense of gratitude
Yeah.
for the things we often take for granted. So instead of viewing personal growth as a chore,
Yeah.
we start to see it as a privilege,
Right.
a chance to become the best versions of ourselves.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's recap the key takeaways from this deep dive into Learn English Comfortably's approach to personal change.
Sounds good.
It all starts with awareness,
Right.
that pause to understand your starting point, your patterns, and what's holding you back.
And then comes the power of those micro changes,
Right.
those small, manageable adjustments
Mm-hmm.
that build momentum and confidence over time.
And remember, action comes before motivation.
Yes. Don't wait to feel inspired.
Mm.
Just take that first step, even if it's tiny.
Yeah.
Let the motivation follow.
It's like jumping into a cold pool. You just got to go for it.
Exactly. And when those inevitable setbacks happen,
Yeah.
reframe them as valuable feedback.
Okay.
Instead of seeing them as failures,
Yeah.
view them as opportunities to learn and adjust your course.
And finally, that brilliant language shift
Yes.
from I have to I get to.
It's so powerful.
It's about transforming chores into privileges and cultivating a deeper sense of gratitude for the opportunities we have to grow.
So with all of these incredible strategies in mind, let's turn to you, the listener. What resonated with you the most from today's deep dive?
Yeah. Was there a particular idea that sparked your curiosity or made you think differently about your own approach to personal change?
Maybe you've been struggling with a particular challenge or feeling stuck in a rut. How could you apply these insights to take a step forward, even a tiny one?
Remember, you don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight.
Definitely not.
Start small, experiment, and be kind to yourself along the way. So we talked about setting that alarm 10 minutes earlier as like the classic micro change.
Right.
But I bet, our listener has some pretty unique goals or habits that
Yeah.
they've been meaning to tackle.
Sure.
What are some other areas where these like tiny tweaks could really make a difference?
Well, the beauty of these strategies
Yeah.
is their versatility.
Right.
Think about any area where you'd like to see positive change.
Yeah.
Whether it's, your health, your relationships, work,
Right.
creative pursuits.
Okay.
And then ask yourself, what's one small step
Yeah.
I could take today
Yeah.
to move in that direction?
Okay.
It could be as simple as like taking 5 minutes
Yeah.
to meditate each morning,
Right.
or reaching out to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while,
Yeah.
or spending 15 minutes working on that passion project you've been
Yeah.
putting off.
Yeah. It's almost like a permission slip
Yes,
to start small.
totally.
Because I think we get so overwhelmed by the enormity of our goals.
Right.
But remembering that tiny actions can create that ripple effect is just like
Yeah.
really motivating.
It is, and it all ties back to that I get to mindset
Right.
by reframing those small actions as opportunities instead of obligations.
Yeah.
We infuse them with a sense of purpose,
Yeah.
joy.
Right.
It's about appreciating the journey,
Hmm.
not just focusing on the destination.
I love that this deep dive has been such a good reminder
Yeah.
that personal growth isn't about achieving some perfect state of being.
Right.
It's about constantly evolving,
Yeah.
experimenting,
Absolutely.
embracing like the messy, beautiful process of becoming.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
That's so important.
Share your insights with friends.
Yeah.
Join communities that support your goals.
Uh-huh.
Celebrate those small wins along the way.
Right.
The more you embrace the process, the more rewarding it becomes.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into personal transformation inspired by the Learn English Comfortably podcast, we'll leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
What's one I get to statement you can embrace today?
Ooh, good one.
What small action will you take to move closer to the life you envision for yourself? Remember, even the tiniest step can set incredible things in motion.
Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep believing in your own power to create positive change.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.
See ya.
Until then, happy changing.